Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of Spinal Cord Injury Awareness with Fred, that's me. So the two things I wanted to talk about today was sexual function and leg spasms. So as I mentioned in my last video, my injury is T11, it's around about the belly button area, so everything below the belly button area is affected in some way. So let's get started. Sexual function. I'm talking from personal experience. This is my spinal cord injury. Like I said in the last video, all spinal cord injuries are different, so this is just what happens with me. So I can achieve an erection, I can have sex, I have an awesome girlfriend which I feel very fortunate to have and be able to be intimate with her, which is awesome. A lot of people with spinal cord injuries use Viagra or other things to stimulate an erection. I don't need to, but again sometimes I do, just because the sensitivity down there is quite low, so sometimes I'll lose my erection. It doesn't happen very often, but when I use Viagra it's kind of like a sort of psychological safety net, you know, that you can just sort of perform, but we don't use it all the time. It really depends really. Sometimes it's quite spontaneous and I don't have time to take it, or sometimes we'll plan an evening and I will. So I want to talk about the sensitivity. The sensitivity of my penis is about 50%. So in the last video when I was talking to you about the catheter and putting a big tube down my willy, a lot of people were thinking, oh man, that must really hurt. Well, one of the reasons why it doesn't hurt is because I probably have about 50% sensitivity down there. So sex is still really enjoyable, like the emotional and physical connection, like being intimate with my girlfriend is amazing. I can feel it, it feels good, and I can tell my girlfriend really enjoys it. She doesn't have a spinal cord injury, so she can feel everything, so she gets full pleasure. You must know, like when you having sex with someone and they're enjoying it, you know, you enjoy it as well. I get pleasure from giving pleasure, and I also do receive pleasure. I have new erogenous zones, which is really weird. I think it's quite common from what I've read with spinal cord injuries, like my earlobes and my neck are very sensitive, so I can get these sort of bursts of pleasure. However, since my injury, which was 10 months ago, I haven't been able to achieve an orgasm. So I haven't been able to ejaculate or have a physical release of pleasure, like an orgasm, which kind of sucks. You know, I'm not massively stoked on that. Unfortunately, yeah, I haven't yet been able to, and I'm really hoping that one day in the future I will be able to. But we've discovered new ways of being intimate with each other, which is more of an emotional connection and more of a sort of, you know, eye contact, sort of very slow, lots of foreplay and stuff like that. I don't want to go into too much detail, but you know, it's not all about your jackhammer, you know, or your rusty trombone or your Cincinnati bow tie. It's actually really nice. We've had some really wonderful times together since the accident, and to be honest, when I found out I could get an erection, I was pretty stoked, because I was told by the doctors that it was probably a really low chance that I will be able to have sex again. In fact, I remember sending my first ever dick pic when I was in the hospital, and I got an erection, and I was like, oh my god. So I took a picture of it and sent it to Lou. I was like, hey, look what works, and she was like, oh my god, thank god. So that's quite funny. So yeah, sexual function is diminished slightly, but it still works, and we have I think we have a healthy sex life, which is good. The other thing I wanted to talk about was leg spasms. So a lot of people look at paraplegics and think that their legs don't work, they're completely flaccid and lifeless, and that is true for probably about a third of paraplegics. The other 66% have spasticity or voluntary movement below the legs, and so I do have a slight bit of voluntary movement below the legs, but mainly I have spasms, and under the umbrella of spasticity you get leg spasms, which just kick out randomly, which can be painful and annoying. You get tonus, which is the most common one for me, which is I guess if you see on YouTube someone get tased and then go, it's kind of like that. My legs just go really stiff. And then clonus is the other one, which is I call it disco leg. So sometimes my leg taps up and down like this, like I'm listening to drum and bass or something, like boom, 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 boom. Which is it's quite funny. It's not painful. It's quite funny when it kicks off. I just watch it. I can make it stop, but sometimes I just let it go, and it eventually dies down. So with the leg spasms, there are positives and negatives. Let's start with the positives. The positives are that it increases my circulation, it increases my muscle tone, or it keeps my muscle tone, stops my legs from becoming like atrophied. The tonus in my legs, when they go really, really straight, it's so strong, they're so powerful. Literally, it's like it actually holds my body weight up, so I can actually stand, I can use a walker, and I can shuffle and walk short distances with a walker, which is quite cool. It's not a very effective or practical form of transportation, because I can't take my hands off the walker. I have to like hold my body weight up. So the positives are I can stand. It's good for like circulation, keeping muscle tone. It's good when I stand up for digestion and bone density, and it's really good for people that are in wheelchairs to stand. You can use a standing frame. The human body was designed to be upright. You know, we're primates, so we're designed to stand on our legs and you know, just walk. This is good thing. That is a positive side of the spasms. The negatives of leg spasms are that they can be extremely painful. Sometimes, especially when I'm trying to sleep. When my legs spasm, it's not just my legs, it's like a sort of an electric shock that goes like halfway up my torso, and my abs contract, and sometimes I can't like bend forward because like my back muscles are like really tight. So it's really, really uncomfortable sometimes. It affects my sleep because I spasm in my sleep, and sometimes, and in the early stages I used to like almost kick myself in the face. It was horrible. I kick my girlfriend in my sleep sometimes. When my legs go straight, like the tonus, that is really annoying because not only is it painful, but it stops me from like turning to a more comfortable position. I have to like grab my legs, which are like, when they're really strong, it's like really trying to like, you know, waking up and like having like like lifting up something really heavy that's like producing a force in the opposite direction. And like bending my knee, and then bending my other knee, and then like turning onto my side, and then putting a pillow between my legs, and then after a few hours I'll get uncomfortable and have to like turn over. So it's a real bit of a ball ache. Sleeping, it's only recently that I found a comfortable position that I can sleep in, which hasn't involved me waking up in pain every morning. That's probably one of the main things actually, the negatives with the leg spasms, is that most mornings I wake up in pain, which is really unpleasant way to start the day. Recently it's calmed down a lot, but pain management and post-injury depression are two things I want to talk about in the next video. So yeah, if you found this video informative or helpful, then thank you. And if you have any questions that you want me to answer, you can leave a comment down below and I will answer them in my next video. Thanks guys.